Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Walking God's Purpose podcast. I am one of your co hosts, Lorna, and with me I have Monique,
Hi, guys.
and then we have Estrella, who is basically our third co host at this point. She has such a wealth of knowledge that we have had her for the past 3 weeks, and she is back to do a part 2 of detoxing. So, Estrella, I am just going to kick it over to you.
Okay, hello everyone, and welcome to the podcast. And I want to speak about the methods of detoxification. So last week we left off on fasting and hydration, and we had an extensive questions about that. So today I'm going to talk about the detoxification herbs and continue on speaking about the actual method. So when you think about detoxing, you also have to remember to think about the person's history, medical history. So that is very important. That's why it's not a one size fit all detox program for everyone. So it's very, very crucial that you get a comprehensive medical history of the person so that you can uh, share with them the specifics that they need for their body. So some of the detoxification herbs, when you think about the liver and the kidneys, this is just an example. You can use dandelion tea. That is very good for cleaning out the kidneys and liver. And then we also want to see detaching from toxic relationships is also a part of the soul part of health. So when we think of health, we think of body, mind, and soul. So we often focus on the physical part of the body and we think about exercising and what we eat, but we also forget about our soul, the person that we are. And sometimes we have toxic relations in our midst, and those are things and people that we need to detach from because we are not functioning in a whole manner when we let those relationships continue. And then we think about our detaching from the mind. So you're detoxing your mind. So we want to think about things like fasting from toxic programs like TV stations. Like, what kind of music are you putting in your head? What are you reading? Are you reading a bunch of horror stories? Are you watching the news, which typically have a lot of negative connotations in it? So some people complain about not being able to sleep at night. And one of the questions I like to ask them is, what do they do before they go to bed? And some people are watching the news before they go to bed, and they start accumulating all of these negative tones in their mind. And some people get to the point and it get them so riled up that they can't even sleep at night. So it's definitely playing a part upon their mental health. And also electronic devices. If you really look at your cell phone, when you first buy the cell phone, they used to give you this little tiny booklet, and I like to read everything. So I remember reading it, and it was saying, "Oh, you shouldn't have this phone to your ear," but they're not saying that up front. They put it on a little teeny tiny little
Prints.
line. Yes. It's just the fine print in the book. And then most people aren't going to read that book. They're like, I know how to use a cell phone, so what do I need this book for? So those radio frequencies are not healthy the closer it is to your body. And so they've done tests on that, and the actual manufacturers of those particular phones actually stated, and sometimes they even go to the extent of not even letting you know in the booklet itself anymore. What they do is said, if you want more information, you can go to this website and find it out.
Mm.
So that's very interesting that they started doing that as well. Electronic devices, you don't want that radio frequency beaming on you at night and all through the night. So it's a good idea to even put it down in a different room from where you're at. And a true story, there was this lady who was in this house and her child was sleeping in the one room, but it was the same room that on the opposite side of the wall was the box, the what do you call it? Internet box, the Wi-Fi box. Or so that was on the opposite side of the wall, and the child died, and then also the mother ended up dying too. And they tried to, so they did an investigation, and they linked it to that actual that Wi-Fi close proximity to the people, because that was the head of their bed. On the other side of the wall was the Wi-Fi station. So yeah, and it's been a controversy in the news. I remember when cell phones first came out, and the doctor came on the local news, and he talked about how cell phones were linked to brain cancer. But people just shunned him off and not really paid attention to that and all those things. And even now, it's still a controversy. They say that there's no link between brain cancer and the cell phones. But I will say that they did have cases where these young teenage girls were getting breast cancer. And what they did, they correlated that all of them had a particular bra that they would put their cell phones in. And so they banned the bra and took that off of the market. So that's just interesting. So some of the things we need to detox from are from those electronic devices, the television, what music, the readings the things that we're reading. There's a song when I was a little girl says, "Be careful, little eyes, what you see, what you see. Be careful, little ears, what you hear." So basically, what are you putting in the mind? What are you putting in the body that is making it toxic? So those are the things that we need to focus on when we're detoxing, is to get to the root cause of things, is to figure out what we're doing. So next, moving along, last week we talked about internal methods of detoxification. So now I'm going to touch a little bit about the external, and that also plays a part to the method of removing, because we were talking in the first segment about the 3 R's. And so when you're doing the external methods, you think about the remove process. You're removing toxins from the body. So that's part of that process. And that's the first process, is to remove. The second process is to repair. And then the third process is to replenish, in that particular order. So when we're eliminating externally, we think of things like our skin. The skin is the largest organ in the body. Most people don't see it as an organ because it's not something shaped like the heart or the lungs. So we tend to try to dismiss our skin as an organ, but it's actually the largest organ in the body. And usually when things end up on the skin, it's a sure sign of something that's being put in the body or on the body. So it's just a signal or a sign that something is inside the body that needs to be either balanced or removed, eliminated in some shape or form. And so we think as the skin, to detox the skin, we use things like a salt glow. So that's when you get something like a Epsom salt or a kosher salt, and you would put a couple of, maybe a cup of that kosher salt in a bowl. Think of like a mixing bowl, and then you just add enough water to just make it wet, but make it in the form of like a scrub. So I know you probably had some bathing scrubs that you probably used in the past. So if you think about the consistency of a body scrub, that's what you want to achieve. And what that does, a salt glow, is with the motion, the circulatory motion that you're using on the body as you're putting it on. So you're rubbing in one direction, you're rubbing the salt on it in opposite directions of itself. So, and what that is doing is that's just enhancing the circulation and getting it moved around. The pores are being open, and we typically do that after you had a steam bath because your pores are open. And you know you're just about to go and get in that cold shower afterward, and I'll explain that in a minute. But so you would put the salt all over your body from head to toe. Of course, stay away from the eyes for obvious reasons. But and you do this, and not only is it helping to get like little protrusions on your skin, the outward part of your skin, off. Like you may have some things that may surface up, like blackheads, and little things coming out of the skin, you know, skin tags and things like that. That may even rub those off. And what you're doing is you're cleaning, but at the same time, you're adding those minerals from that salt into the body also. So you're helping with the balancing of the minerals in the body. So that's one of the things that we do. And what I was talking about is you would follow that up with a cold shower. And what you want to do is put your head in the water first, typically after you take a steam bath. That's another way. That's another thing that you do for detoxifying the skin, is taking a steam bath, which opens the pores, which helps put those toxins outside of the body. Sweating, we sweat for reasons, and one of those reasons is for us to get those toxins out of the body. And it's also a method of cooling the body off in different instances. So, but the reason why we put the head in the water first is to prevent swelling. So, because you want to do the head first, and then put the rest of your body, because you're shocking the body. You're shocking the body by getting in the cold water. So you do 1 minute cold, and then 3 minutes warm, and then you do 3 cycles of that. And then then you just take a towel and you pat dry yourself off. And
Okay,
just
Estrella, can I
yes,
just try to recap that to make sure that I have it in the correct order? So
yes,
the first thing would be the steam
Yes.
yes,
for
Steam
20,
bath.
a steam bath
Mhm.
that releases the toxins by sweating it out. Then you do the salt glow because now the pores are open. So now the minerals from the salt will get in. Then once you do the salt, then you do the hot and cold showers, starting with cold, 1 minute hot, 3 minutes, and then ending with cold. Just wanted to
Right.
get the
well,
process
You do that 3 times.
and do that 3 times.
yes, but it's for coming out of the steam. The purpose of doing the hot and the cold first is just to, so that your body, and doing your head first is so that you don't shock the body, because shocking it by just getting in and putting your body first and not your head, then that can actually cause your head to not explode, but your head can expand. So you want to, it's just to gradually introduce to the body that, hey, okay, I just had this steam bath, so now I want to cool off. So I want to cool my head off first, because the head is what cools. If you ever seen anybody, or you think about heat exhaustion, what's the first thing you want to do? You pour some water over somebody's head, wet your face, and take all those clothes off because you're overheated. So you want to put the water on the head, the neck. Most people will go get a cool cloth and put it around the neck. You start from the head down, because the head is where the brain is. So you want to protect the brain first, if that makes sense. And then work your way down. And I mean, if you can take it all off at the same time, go for it, because the goal is to save yourself. And also another thing, not to get confused, because detoxing is a custom way of removing things, some people may not be able to get in the steam bath. So it's not a set thing that, get in the steam bath and then do the salt glow. It's just that I typically do that for the people who actually can tolerate a steam bath. If that makes sense. So it's not necessarily a rule, okay, do a steam bath and then follow it up with a salt glow. Okay. It just gonna depend on what the person can tolerate or not, based on their medical history. So it's just an additional option to detoxify, to help the body detoxify or remove toxins from the body. Okay. And then I have this example of my sister. And when I was smaller, I didn't really understand what she was doing, but as I got older, I understand it. So whenever she would get sick, she would just go in the closet and get a whole bunch of blankets and wrap it around her, and she would sweat out her sickness. Then she would go take a shower, clean up, and then she was fine. I mean, it wasn't instant, but once she broke the fever and sweated all of that out, then she was back to recovery at that point. So that's kind of one of the things they also do. Back in the old days, they used to put your feet in some water, some warm water, and then cover you up with some blankets and put a thermometer in your mouth. I don't know if you remember your grandmoms or great grandmothers doing that for home remedies. So
I find on TV.
Yes, I see it in movies.
Yeah, so before there was hospital, people were doing home remedies all the time. There was no hospital to go to, and doctors typically would make rounds in different neighborhoods and come to your house and check the different family members in that neighborhood, and that's how the doctor used to make his house rounds. So before we got all these fancy hospitals, people were actually doing all of these things in their home. So it might behoove us to talk to grandma and see some of the things that she was doing and see how helpful it was. Also, when we think of internal, I know we're speaking about external things, but I don't know if you remember when you were younger that your mom or grandmother would take you and they would deworm you at least once a year if you were playing outside.
Right before school starts.
Right. Yes, Monique, right. Every summer, right before school starts back.
So there was something to that. They know you're outside playing and in the dirt and doing all kinds of things. And, as kids, we're putting our hands in our mouths. And of course, that's an easy way to put parasites in the body. So we're doing all of those things. And so grandma and mom was doing right things by deworming us and giving us that aloe vera, and some people got castor oil and the black walnut and wormwood they gave us, and golden seal, depending on whoever it was, and that helped got those parasites out of the body. So, and then the aloe vera. How many of you remember getting teaspoons of aloe vera and swallowing that slimy stuff? So that help you go to the bathroom and eliminate all of that stuff out of your colon. So our parents was doing that for a reason. And if you think about it, people even do it now for their animals. When you take your animals to the vet, they give you that deworming medication for your livestock and your dogs and your pets, because they know that they have a very high risk of getting parasites in the body. So that's one of the ways they can do that. But back to the external methods. Again, we want to think about removing the products that may be causing the problem. That's why it's so important to get a history to try to come to the conclusion of what is the cause? Why are you toxic? Think about some things that you may doing that may contribute to a toxic body. And then also making sure we're getting enough exercise. And why is exercising seen as an external detoxifying method? Is because if you think about it, like I was speaking about earlier, sweating is a way to help the toxins to be expelled from the body. So when you're exercising, you sweat. So therefore that helps your body to expel those toxins. And if you do it outside in fresh air, that's even better. But the most important thing is after you sweat is to clean yourself, because you don't want that to dry up and then be reabsorbed in the body. So you want to make sure you clean up your body after you're exercising, and most people do. I don't think if you are outside exercising, then you come in and you just go to bed like that.
we
But
hope not.
then you never know. There are some people who just skip processes.
And that explains why, like, every gym has a locker room
Shower.
that when you finish exercising at the gym, you go and shower off.
Yeah.
Yes. And then they also have steam rooms and sauna rooms. So take advantage of those. So you don't have to pay all that money to install one in your house. But however, if you wanted a personal one and you didn't want to go to gyms where everybody else is sweating and all of their stuff is all in the place, you can purchase one for about 80-90 bucks. They have these little tubs, personalized tubs you can get in and steam in yourself. Or you can have, if you have those old-fashioned showers that are glass to end, where you can actually, the steam is in there, you can't see on the outside. So that's doing some of the same things. So you can get it for free if you have the right shower in your home. And it's also cost effective to do that as well. And people underestimate the sunlight. It's so important to get out and get that sun. The sun is a microbial entity in itself. And the sun is not just, it has so many things, benefits that are good for us. And being antimicrobial. In fact, there's a physician, I can't think of his name right now, but I'll get it back to you so you can list it for the podcast members. But there's a doctor who actually ended up he treated his patients' illnesses by putting them out in the sun. And a lot of times when we go to these lifestyle centers or sanitariums, that's what they used to do. They used to have sunbathing out their minutes/hours, and they would have sections where you are where you have a privacy screen, but the top is open so that you can get sun. So they'll have these lawn chairs out there where you can just sunbathe back and forth. So it's very, very important, not only for internal, but also the external, because the sunlight actually jumpstart the nervous system. We don't think about sunlight in the nervous system, but if you think of the sun as a electrical entity that the electricity will, zap, in a sense, your system in the body, your nervous system to work properly. So and then also when you're sunbathing, you want to make sure you have as less clothing on as possible. So that's why it's good to do it in a private manner, or at least if it's females, you do it amongst females, to maintain your modesty.
Mm.
So
And
that will,
I'm assuming with the sunbathing that we should use what you call that thing?
SPF,
I
sunscreen.
I
Sunscreen.
I personally, I feel like sunscreen is just like a, a over-the-counter medication in the sense that, okay, so when you put on sunscreen, you're blocking the UV waves. If you go out there in a time where the UV rays are not as extensive, like before 2 and before 10 a.m. and after 2 p.m. So from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. is when the UV rays are out there most, more intensified. So if you sunbathe after those hours, then me personally, I don't like to promote using the sunscreen, because I feel like, just like you get medication to stop you from coughing, you're coughing for a reason, you're sneezing for a reason. Your body is saying, I want to get these germs out of here, and that's why you sneeze to get that out of your system. And your nose is running for a reason, to drain the system out and try to get some of those bacteria that may have entered by whatever reason. So when you put sunscreen on, in my opinion, it's doing the same thing as the over-the-counter medication of masking the symptom.
So would you just recommend being fully clothed for those who have to be outside? There are certain jobs where they're going to be outside between 10 and 2. What would you recommend for those people?
Yeah, I would say that you would put on a particular clothing that would cover the body, that would not necessarily heat you up, and wear hats. And those are the times you can wear shades. But even when the sun is at its most, those UV rays are most intensified, you can still be in the shade. The sun is not everywhere. So there are shaded areas when you have to be out in those time periods. But while you are out there, you can wear clothing on the body. The goal is balance in everything. I don't care if it's good or bad. You have to think balance in everything. Once again, the body is at a continuous state of homeostasis. It's always trying to maintain a balance of the body's systems. So you don't want to spend too much time in the sun, and you don't want to spending too little time. It's not going to benefit you. And so you just have to, in general, think of that balance, balance, balance. There's all these laws of health, but you don't want to do too much, and you don't want to do too little. You have to come to a balanced ground when you're thinking about all of these things, these benefits that we can do ourselves. And that leads me to the lymphatic system. And that's our part of our blood system that cleans out the blood. In the lymph nodes, I think we talked about the lymph nodes earlier, but maybe we didn't. But they're located in all over the body, in the groin, underneath your neck, so to speak, or I should say your chin, underneath your armpits, groins, different areas. You have them in your alongside different organs in the bodies. So the lymph nodes have their own army, I like to say, of white blood cells. Lymphocytes are part of the white blood cell system, and the lymphocytes have the lymphocytes are lymph cells, which are white blood cells that come out. So if you have any inflammation in the body, let's say you have an abscess tooth on your right side and you get an abscess on your tooth. And so next thing you know, you're like, oh man, my lymph node underneath my right chin is bulging. I can feel it. Well, yeah, that means your immune system is working. Okay, because it detects that there's an inflammation there, and what the immune cells do, or I should say the lymph immune cells do, white blood cells, is they go and engulf the bacteria or and act like a Pac-Man, and they destroy it. So that's important of the lymph. And what can we do to think about lymph nodes and the lymph system of like getting the blood going? So a good brisk walk, like jumping on a trampoline, things that are making your calves pulsate, just putting your feet or I guess alternate your feet on the ball of your foot and then back down, up, down. They call them like squeezing your calves. So those are things to help get the lymph, the blood, help that get going. And the lymph system is very, very important. Jump roping and walking is the best exercise. Doesn't cost you anything. If you don't have a trampoline, you can buy a jump rope. Even if you don't have a jump rope, you can just get anything, some bands. And just this is continuing on with herbal detoxification of the organs. This one thing that I particularly used was a Matula tea, and there were different 4 herbal teas that had different properties in it that actually remove a particular bacteria. I shared earlier, probably on the first podcast or maybe the second one, about me having this bacteria in my stomach called H. pylori, which helped usher in my tumor that I had in my stomach. And so for me, the bacteria was the root cause, in addition to the sugar and the caffeine destroying the lining of my gut, which made me more vulnerable, right? So I was looking at the things that I was doing. So me, in the repair process, I was using the Matula tea to help repair the lining of my gut and also to remove the bacteria that was in my gut. And typically what the doctors or the medical traditional way of doing it is to, give you like 3 antibiotics at a time and try to get it out that way. And a lot of people have very bad side effects with those 3 antibiotics together. Not to mention this, antibiotics kind of work kind of like chemo in the sense that, yes, it gets rid of the bad bacteria, but it also gets rid of your good bacteria. So that's why in my case, I did not use those antibiotics. I used the herbs to remove the bacteria and also repair the lining because of the effects that the antibiotics would do to the lining of my gut. So, and then also the aloe, or the olive plant derivatives, you can use that as well. Licorice root. I don't know if your parents ever gave you any of that licorice root when you were a kid. So God has a sense of humor. All the stuff that's bitter is the stuff that you need and that's good for you. And the stuff that we don't want.
I didn't get the licorice, but I got something called cercity, and when I say bitter, that is bitter.
Stingy nettles and all those good things that's out there, and that we run over with our lawnmower that actually help heal us. But herbal detoxifications, the colon, of course, I think the cheapest and easiest thing is aloe vera. they've been using that since the Egyptian times. Back in biblical times, aloe was a beautiful, beautiful plant, that green plant that was used to heal the people. They have thousands and thousands of studies in the American medical journals and the peer-reviewed journals about the benefits of aloe. So if I could say one thing you keep in your health is this, in your house for a natural things to help heal, is aloe vera. It's good for your skin, the outer and inner. In the inner, it helps repair the lining of your gut. It also on the outer, it helps with burns. People have been using it for burns, wounds, and help heal the wounds with aloe vera. Just a wonderful, wonderful thing that you can have in your natural remedy medicine closet.
Okay, I think we're
So
gonna have to wrap it up here. We might have to do a
I
part
think,
3.
well, we talked about the liver and the kidneys, the colon. We know about the colon, the lungs, and the skin. This on this what do you call this PowerPoint? It just mentioned a few things like the lung getting outside, the skin, charcoal poultices, and we already spoke about the repair, replenish part, because I was just going to reiterate the repair and replenish. Once you remove by detoxification, then you can start repairing your gut lining or whatever it is that's organ that is messed up, or whatever your medical history is that you're trying to help. Then you start thinking about the repair process of that, and then replenishing. What can I take in that will help replenish my body with my minerals and my vitamins and my sunlight and my fresh air and my exercise? So that's the replenish part. So
Okay, so Estrella, if someone wants to know more, how could they contact you?
well, I have a website. It's called Learn About Lifestyle .org, or if you have learned about lifestyle.com, that's where I do my one-on-one consultation. So the website is learnaboutLifestyle.com, or if you put in .org, that will also come out. And what I do is individual consultations if somebody want to learn how to get their health back in order, safely, with a medical professional. Then I usually give one-on-one consultations, and then also if somebody would like to do group consultations, then I also do offer that as well.
Okay, and we will put that in the description box as well.